Right now, as you are watching this, your consciousness is operating as a frequency beacon, and the signal you are broadcasting has just aligned with something extraordinary. Quantum physicists call this a meaningful coincidence. But what is really happening is far more precise. Less than 1% of people ever tune into this specific frequency. Your brain has been filtering through millions of data points daily, and somehow this transmission made it through. That is not accidental. Think about your recent experiences. Those strange dreams that felt more real than waking life. The repeated number sequences appearing everywhere. Conversations that seemed perfectly timed. Your consciousness has been passing through what I call a preliminary screening process, following breadcrumbs that have led you directly here. In quantum mechanics, there is something called the collapse point, where infinite possibilities suddenly converge into a singular reality. You are standing at that exact threshold right now, at what ancient texts describe as the event horizon of your own becoming. The synchronicities have not been random. They have been a preparation for what you are about to discover about the 9 master frequencies that govern manifestation itself. Here is something that might completely shift how you understand what is happening in your life right now. You know that feeling when everything seems to have gone quiet, when your manifestations feel stuck, when opportunities have dried up, when it is like the universe hit the pause button on your dreams. Most people panic during these moments. They think they have done something wrong, that their desires are slipping away, that maybe manifestation does not work after all. But quantum physics reveals something absolutely mind-bending about these void periods. What you are experiencing is not emptiness at all. You are witnessing the most creative state in existence. Let me explain quantum superposition in a way that will change how you see your current situation forever. In the quantum realm, particles do not exist in fixed states until they are observed. Before measurement, an electron exists in what physicists call superposition. It is literally in all possible locations simultaneously. It is not that we do not know where it is. It genuinely exists everywhere at once, until consciousness collapses it into a specific reality. Your manifestations work exactly the same way. Right now, as you are watching this, your desires exist in quantum superposition. That business you want to start? It exists simultaneously as a massive success, a moderate success, and every variation in between. The relationship you are calling in, it is already happening across infinite probability states. The financial abundance you are seeking, it is fluctuating through every possible timeline until the perfect moment for collapse into your 3-dimensional experience. This is why checking your bank account obsessively or scanning your environment for evidence actually delays your manifestations. In quantum mechanics, observation causes what is called decoherence. It forces the quantum system to choose a state prematurely. When you desperately look for proof, you are essentially forcing your desires to collapse into whatever limited reality currently exists, rather than allowing them to gestate in the quantum field until they are ready to emerge in their fullest expression. Think about the last time something amazing manifested in your life. I bet there was a period right before it happened where everything felt stagnant, maybe even like things were moving backward. That was not a coincidence. That was the quantum vacuum state doing its work. The quantum vacuum is not empty space. It is teeming with what physicists call zero-point energy, the lowest possible energy state of a quantum mechanical system. Even when you remove all particles, all heat, and all motion from a space, it still contains enormous creative potential. Virtual particles constantly pop into existence and then disappear, creating fluctuations in the quantum field that influence physical reality in ways we are only beginning to understand. Your desires currently exist as these virtual particles, virtual manifestations, affecting your reality through synchronicities, sudden insights, unexpected opportunities, and those moments when you think about someone and they text you 5 minutes later. They are not fully materialized yet, but they are absolutely influencing your experience, preparing the perfect conditions for their emergence. I have studied hundreds of manifestation stories, and there is always this pattern. The bigger the manifestation, the deeper the void period that precedes it. One client manifested a 7-figure business opportunity, but only after 3 months of what felt like complete stagnation. Another attracted their soulmate after a year of feeling like love was impossible. The void was not a punishment, it was a preparation. During superposition, your desires are not just existing passively, they are actively reorganizing reality at quantum levels. People are being moved into position, circumstances are aligning, resources are being redistributed. Market conditions are shifting. All of this happens below the threshold of ordinary perception, in what appears to be stillness, but is actually maximum creative activity. This is why every spiritual tradition emphasizes embracing emptiness and uncertainty. The mystics intuitively understood what quantum physics now proves scientifically, that apparent nothingness is actually infinite potential. The Tao Te Ching talks about the usefulness of the empty space in a bowl. Buddhist teachings focus on the void as the source of all creation. These were not metaphors. They were describing literal quantum mechanics. When you resist the void, when you try to force outcomes or manufacture evidence, you are essentially creating quantum interference. You are introducing noise into a delicate system that requires coherence to function properly. But when you learn to rest in uncertainty, to trust the invisible creative process, you maintain the quantum coherence necessary for your desires to collapse into reality at the perfect moment. Here is what is really happening during your void period. Every closed door is redirecting energy toward your true path. Every delay is allowing better opportunities to align. Every moment of apparent stillness is actually intense quantum activity preparing for your breakthrough. The universe is not withholding from you. It is orchestrating something far beyond what your conscious mind could have planned. What you are experiencing right now is not evidence that manifestation is not working. It is evidence that something massive is about to collapse from superposition into your reality. The void before manifestation is not empty space. It is pregnant with infinite possibility. And your breakthrough is gestating in the quantum field, waiting for the perfect moment to emerge into your three-dimensional experience. The deeper you can rest in this understanding, the faster your desires can complete their quantum gestation and birth themselves into your world. Picture this. You have been working on manifesting something important for weeks, maybe months. You have done the visualization, set your intentions, and felt the excitement of your desired reality. Then, something shifts. You find yourself compulsively checking your phone every few minutes, refreshing your email obsessively, waiting for the call, scanning every conversation, every interaction, every coincidence for signs that your manifestation is finally happening. Your heart races when you see an unknown number. You analyze every word in text messages for a hidden meaning. Sound familiar? If so, you have just witnessed the exact moment most people sabotage their manifestation, right at the threshold of a breakthrough. What you are experiencing is not anticipation. It is the fatal shift from receiving energy to desperate wanting energy. And here is what is fascinating. Quantum physicists have actually identified why this destroys your manifestation. They call it the observer effect. In quantum mechanics, particles exist in what we discussed earlier, superposition. They hold infinite potential until the moment they are observed. But here is the crucial part. The act of desperate observation does not just measure the particle. It collapses all that infinite potential into your current limitation. When you frantically search for evidence that your manifestation is coming, you are literally collapsing the quantum field back into what already exists. Think about what happens in your body when you are in that desperate checking mode. Your breathing becomes shallow, your muscles tense, your nervous system activates a fight or flight response. This is not the energetic signature of someone about to receive their desires. This is the signature of someone operating from scarcity, from lack, from the fear that it might not happen. The universe responds to your energetic state, not your words or even your visualizations. When you shift into wanting energy, you are broadcasting, "I don't have this. I'm separate from this. I need this to complete me." That signal pushes your desires away with the same force that desperate people repel others at parties. But receiving energy, that is completely different. Receiving energy operates from a fundamental knowing that what is yours is already yours. It is the difference between a seed questioning whether it will become a tree versus trusting the same intelligence that spins galaxies and orchestrates the dance of atoms in your cells. A seed does not frantically check the soil conditions every hour. It does not panic if it does not see roots immediately. It surrenders completely to the process, allowing the same universal intelligence that created it to express through it. This is what the ancient texts meant by complete energetic surrender in the final stages of manifestation. Let me show you how this plays out in practical terms. Imagine two people, both manifesting their dream job. Person A, operating from wanting energy, networks desperately. They follow up aggressively after interviews. They check job boards compulsively. They talk about their job search constantly, seeking reassurance from friends. Their conversations are filled with worry about competition, fear about their qualifications, and anxiety about timing. Person B, operating from receiving energy, networks naturally. They have genuine conversations because they are interested in people, not just what people can do for them. They prepare thoroughly for interviews, then trust their preparation. They take inspired action when it feels right, but they are not driven by anxiety. When people ask about their job search, they speak with a quiet confidence. "I'm excited about what's unfolding." Can you feel the difference? Person B has become magnetic. They are not chasing opportunities. Opportunities are drawn to them. This is not positive thinking or wishful delusion. This is quantum entanglement in action. Quantum entanglement shows us that consciousness can become connected to desired outcomes across any distance, but only when operating from the receiving frequency. When you are in wanting energy, you are vibrationally mismatched to what you desire. When you are in receiving energy, you become entangled with your manifestation at the quantum level. So, how do you recognize when you have shifted into wanting energy? Your body will tell you immediately. Notice when you feel contracted, anxious, or compulsive. Notice when you are seeking external validation or evidence. Notice when you catch yourself explaining or defending your dreams to others. These are all signs you have shifted from receiving to wanting. Here is a simple practice. When you notice yourself in wanting energy, pause and ask, what would someone who already had this be doing right now? Someone who already had their dream relationship would not be desperately checking dating apps every 5 minutes. Someone who already had financial abundance would not be obsessively monitoring their bank account for signs of an increase. The most profound shift happens when you realize you are not trying to get something from the universe. You are allowing the universe to give something to you. This is not semantic wordplay. It is a fundamental reframe that changes your entire energetic signature. When you operate from this understanding, something miraculous occurs. You release your attachment to specific forms, which allows the universe to deliver something far more extraordinary than your limited imagination could conceive. Maybe you are manifesting a specific job, but the universe delivers an opportunity to start your own company. Maybe you are focused on one person, but the universe brings someone who exceeds every quality you thought you wanted. This is why attachment to specific outcomes often blocks manifestation. Your ego mind can only imagine based on past experience and current knowledge. But universal intelligence has access to infinite possibilities you have never even considered. The art of manifestation in its final stages requires becoming like that seed, trusting completely in the intelligence that created you to express through you. Not because you are passive or powerless, but because you recognize you are part of something infinitely more intelligent and creative than your individual will. The question is not whether your manifestation is coming. The question is whether you will maintain the receiving energy that allows it to arrive. What I am about to share with you will fundamentally change how you understand your relationship with reality itself. The breakthrough you are sensing is not coming from some distant future. It is transmitting to you right now from a parallel timeline where a version of yourself has already achieved everything you are working toward. Let me explain this through the lens of quantum physics. When two particles become entangled, they remain connected across any distance. Instantly change the spin of one particle, and its partner responds immediately, whether it is across the room or across the galaxy. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance because it defied everything we thought we knew about how reality works. But here is where it gets extraordinary. Consciousness operates under these same quantum principles. Your awareness is not confined to this single timeline. It is entangled across multiple versions of reality simultaneously. That sudden insight that seems to come from nowhere? That is not your imagination. It is your future self, who has already navigated the exact challenges you are facing, transmitting solutions back through quantum entanglement. Think about the last time you had a gut feeling about a decision that made no logical sense. Maybe you felt compelled to take a different route home, only to later discover you had avoided a major traffic accident. Or perhaps you had an inexplicable urge to call someone, and they told you they desperately needed to hear from you at that exact moment. These are not coincidences. They are quantum transmissions from timelines where you have already experienced the consequences of different choices. Your future self exists in what physicists call a phase-locked state with your current reality. Imagine two pendulums hanging from the same beam. Initially, they swing at different rhythms, but gradually, they begin to synchronize until they move in perfect harmony. This is phase locking, and it is happening between your current frequency and your desired reality's frequency. Right now, scientists have discovered that when systems reach critical thresholds of synchronization, they undergo what is called a phase transition. A sudden, dramatic reorganization that appears instantaneous but results from energy building over time. Water does not gradually become ice. At exactly 32 degrees Fahrenheit, it transforms completely. A caterpillar does not slowly become a butterfly. It dissolves entirely in the chrysalis before reorganizing into something fundamentally different. You are experiencing this same phenomenon. The chaos you might be witnessing in various areas of your life is not evidence that you are moving backward. It is proof that you are approaching what quantum physicists call maximal entanglement entropy. This is the point where your consciousness becomes so intertwined with your desired reality that the system must reorganize at a completely higher level of complexity. Your future self is actively guiding this process. When you suddenly understand a concept that has puzzled you for years, that is not a random insight. It is transmitted knowledge. When you feel an inexplicable certainty about a direction to take, even though you cannot explain why, that is your successfully achieved self providing navigation. When you find yourself in the right place at exactly the right time to meet someone who changes your trajectory, that is quantum coordination across timelines. The reason this feels so surreal is because we have been conditioned to think of time as linear, past, present, and future in sequence. But quantum mechanics reveals that all possibilities exist simultaneously in what physicists call the many worlds interpretation. Every choice creates a branching timeline, and consciousness can access information across these branches. Your future self remembers being exactly where you are now. They remember the uncertainty, the challenges, the moments of doubt, and they are actively working to minimize your struggle by sending back the insights they wish they had had. This is why a breakthrough often feels like remembering rather than learning something new. Because in a very real sense, you are remembering knowledge from a timeline where you have already succeeded. The apparent dismantling happening in your life right now is actually evidence of this quantum reorganization. Old structures that served the previous version of you are dissolving to make space for the expanded configurations that match your emerging reality. Your job is not to hold on to what is falling away. It is to maintain coherence with the timeline you are transitioning into. Here is how you can work with this process consciously. Every morning, recognize that multiple versions of yourself exist across parallel timelines. Some are struggling, some are thriving, and some have already achieved your goals. Choose which version you are going to animate with your attention that day. When you focus on the successful, fulfilled version of yourself, you strengthen the quantum entanglement with that timeline. Pay attention to the subtle guidance you receive. That book that keeps appearing in conversations, that opportunity someone mentions casually, that sudden clarity about a decision, these are breadcrumbs from your future self. The more you acknowledge and act on this guidance, the stronger the quantum connection becomes. The breakthrough you are sensing is not approaching, it is already here, transmitting to you from the timeline where you have already won. Your only job is to maintain the frequency match long enough for the phase transition to complete. Trust the process, follow the guidance, and prepare for the sudden reorganization that will reveal what your future self has been working to create all along. You know that version of yourself living your dream life right now, the one who wakes up excited, who moves through the world with a quiet confidence, who naturally attracts the opportunities you are currently chasing. That version is not some future possibility you need to create. That version exists right now, in this moment, as real and tangible as the version of you listening to these words. Here is what most people get catastrophically wrong about manifestation. They think they need to transform from who they are into who they want to become. They exhaust themselves trying to build bridges between their current reality and their desired reality, not realizing they are solving the wrong equation entirely. The quantum field does not work like a construction project where you slowly build your way to a better life. It works like a radio, where infinite stations are broadcasting simultaneously, and your job is simply to tune into the frequency of the reality you want to experience. Every possible version of you exists right now in parallel timelines. The struggling version, the abundant version, the confident version, the version living in your dream home, the version in the perfect relationship, they are all equally real, equally valid, and equally available. Most people kill themselves trying to transform from one version to another, when transformation is actually about shifting your attention from the version you have been animating with your consciousness to the version you want to animate instead. Remember what we discovered about quantum entanglement with your future self? That version of you living your desired reality is not sending guidance from some distant future. They are sending it from right now, from a parallel present moment where they already exist. The breakthrough happens when you stop trying to become them and start remembering that you already are them. You're just choosing to animate a different version of yourself with your conscious attention. This is the secret that separates the 1% from everyone else. Identity, coherence. The people living extraordinary lives are not more talented or lucky. They are simply consistent about which version of themselves they animate throughout their entire day. They do not just visualize their expanded identity for 10 minutes in the morning and then spend the rest of the day thinking, feeling, and acting from their old patterns. They understand that every moment is a choice point where they are voting for which timeline they want to collapse into their lived experience. Your nervous system is the key to understanding why this works. Neuroscientist Dr. Joe Dispenza's research reveals something profound. Your brain cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and an actual experience. When you consistently embody your expanded identity, not just think about it, but actually feel into it, move from it, and breathe from it, you are creating the biological foundation for that identity to become your lived reality. You are literally rewiring your neural networks to match the person you are choosing to be. But here is where most people sabotage themselves. They will spend their morning meditation embodying their expanded identity, feeling abundant and confident and aligned. And then they will check their bank account and immediately snap back into scarcity consciousness. They will walk to their car, hunched over, worried about money. They will sit in traffic feeling frustrated and powerless. They will interact with their co-workers from the same old patterns of insecurity or people-pleasing. This creates what physicists call destructive interference. The old identity waves and the new identity waves cancel each other out, leaving you stuck in the same reality you are trying to change. Identity coherence means embodying your expanded identity throughout your entire day, not just during your spiritual practices. It means walking like someone who naturally receives what they desire. Notice how that feels different in your body. Your posture shifts. Your breathing deepens. Your pace becomes more intentional. It means sitting like someone who trusts the universe completely. Your shoulders relax. Your jaw unclenches. Your presence becomes magnetic rather than needy. It means breathing like someone who knows their dreams are already approaching. Each inhale draws in possibility. Each exhale releases resistance. The choice point framework transforms every single decision into an opportunity to vote for your desired timeline. When you are deciding what to eat for lunch, what to wear, how to respond to that text message, how to handle that challenging conversation, each choice is a chance to ask yourself, what would the version of me living my desired reality choose in this moment? This is not about pretending or faking it till you make it. This is about recognizing that the version of you living your dream life makes different choices than the version of you stuck in your current patterns. They choose the salad because they honor their body, not because they are desperately trying to lose weight. They invest in quality clothes because they value themselves, not because they are trying to impress others. They speak their truth in difficult conversations because they trust their worth, not because they are trying to prove anything. The version of you living your desired reality has a completely different relationship with time. They do not rush through their morning routine stressed about being late. They wake up earlier because they prioritize their peace. They do not scroll social media for hours because they are creating rather than consuming. They do not say yes to obligations that drain them because they understand their energy is sacred. Most people are trying to pull their dreams down to their current level of being. They want the abundant life, but they are still operating from scarcity consciousness. They want the loving relationship, but they are still carrying wounds from past betrayals. They want the successful business, but they are still afraid of being seen as selfish or greedy. This creates an impossible equation where they are asking the universe to deliver first-class results from coach-class consciousness. The breakthrough happens when you flip the equation. Instead of trying to pull your dreams down to your current level of being, you rise up to the level of being that naturally matches your dreams. You do not wait for the money to feel abundant. You embody abundance now and let the money catch up. You do not wait for the relationship to feel loved. You embody love now and attract someone who matches that frequency. You do not wait for success to feel confident. You embody confidence now and watch how differently opportunities respond to you. Start treating every moment as identity training. When you are washing dishes, wash them like someone who loves their beautiful home. When you are driving, drive like someone who enjoys their journey rather than someone desperately trying to escape their current circumstances. When you are working, work like someone who is building something meaningful rather than someone just trying to pay the bills. The quantum field is always listening to who you are being, not what you are wanting. It responds to your identity frequency, the consistent vibration you are broadcasting through your thoughts, emotions, and actions throughout your entire day. When you align that frequency with the version of yourself already living your desired reality, you do not attract your dreams, you remember them. You do not create your new life. You tune into the timeline where it already exists. This is how manifestation actually works. Not as creation, but as remembering. Not as becoming, but as choosing which version of yourself to animate with the gift of your conscious attention. You know that moment when everything suddenly clicks, when a solution appears out of nowhere after months of struggling with the same problem, when doors that were completely locked yesterday swing wide open today. What you are experiencing is not luck or coincidence. You are witnessing quantum tunneling in action, and your consciousness is about to tunnel through barriers that seemed absolutely solid just moments ago. In quantum physics, particles regularly perform what classical physics says is impossible. They pass through energy barriers that should completely block their path. An electron encountering a wall does not slowly chip away at it or find a way around. It simply appears on the other side as if the barrier never existed. The particle does not gradually overcome the obstacle. Instead, it exists in a superposition of possibilities until the moment of tunneling, when it instantaneously manifests in a completely different location. Your consciousness operates by the same principles. Right now, you are approaching your own quantum tunneling event. Those limitations that have defined your reality, the financial constraints, the relationship patterns, the health challenges, the creative blocks, they are about to become irrelevant. Not because you will overcome them, but because you are shifting into a parallel reality where they simply do not exist. Think about the last major breakthrough in your life. Did it happen gradually? Or did it appear suddenly after a period of apparent stagnation? Most people describe their biggest life changes as overnight transformations that seem to come out of nowhere. The struggling artist who suddenly gets discovered. The person in debt who receives an unexpected opportunity. The individual stuck in toxic relationships who suddenly attracts their ideal partner. These are not random events. They are quantum tunneling effects. The dimensional walls between parallel versions of your reality are becoming increasingly thin. You have probably noticed reality feeling more fluid lately, more responsive to your thoughts and emotions. Time seems to move differently. Synchronicities are multiplying. People from your past are reappearing with perfect timing. New opportunities are emerging from completely unexpected directions. These are not signs that good things might happen. They are evidence that the tunneling process has already begun. Here is what most people do not understand about manifestation. Your future self has been reaching back through quantum fields, orchestrating the synchronicities and opportunities appearing in your life. That version of you living your desired reality is not waiting for you to figure things out. They are actively creating quantum entanglement points, moments where the timeline you are on intersects with the timeline they inhabit. Every intuitive nudge, every random encounter, every unexpected door opening is your future self pulling you toward the tunneling event. I have witnessed this phenomenon countless times. A woman spent 3 years trying to launch her business, facing rejection after rejection, struggling with every aspect of getting it off the ground. Then, within a single week, she connected with the perfect business partner, secured funding, and landed her first major client. She did not gradually improve her business skills. She tunneled into a reality where her success was already established. A man dealt with chronic back pain for over a decade, trying every treatment, every therapy, every approach he could find. Nothing provided lasting relief. Then, after a seemingly ordinary conversation with a stranger at a coffee shop, he discovered a practitioner who resolved his condition in a single session using a method he had never heard of. The healing was not gradual. It was instantaneous, as if he had stepped into a version of reality where the pain had never existed. This is emergence in action. The appearance of new properties during phase transitions that were not present in the original system. When water becomes steam, entirely new characteristics emerge that could not be predicted by studying individual water molecules. When your consciousness undergoes quantum tunneling, abilities you did not know you had suddenly become available. Resources flow through channels that were previously invisible. Opportunities that seemed impossible become obvious next steps. The key insight is this: you are not getting better at manifesting. You are not developing new skills or overcoming old limitations. You are shifting into a version of reality where what you desire is already the natural order. In that parallel timeline, abundance flows easily because scarcity was never part of the foundational structure. Relationships are harmonious because dysfunction never took root. Health is vibrant because illness never gained a foothold. The signs of approaching quantum tunneling are unmistakable once you know what to look for. Reality becomes increasingly responsive to your internal state. Small thoughts manifest quickly, showing you the thinning barriers between intention and reality. Dreams become more vivid and prophetic. You experience moments of knowing things you should not logically know. Time distortions become common, hours passing like minutes, or minutes stretching into what feels like hours. You might notice that old patterns simply stop working. Behaviors that used to trigger specific responses from people no longer have the same effect. Problems that used to consume your energy suddenly resolve themselves without your intervention. This is not because you have changed. It is because you are existing in a reality where those patterns never had power over you. During the tunneling process, maintaining coherence is crucial. Your consciousness needs to remain steady as it transitions between dimensional states. This means staying present rather than getting caught up in analyzing or trying to control the process. Trust the synchronicities appearing in your life. Follow the intuitive nudges. Say yes to opportunities that feel aligned, even if they do not make logical sense yet. The breakthrough you have been working toward is not coming because you have earned it or figured out the right formula. It is emerging because the quantum field is reorganizing itself around your consciousness, preparing to deliver you to a timeline where your desired reality is already established. The tunneling effect explains why success often feels sudden, even after years of preparation. Because in quantum terms, you are not gradually building toward your goals. You are positioning yourself for an instantaneous shift into a parallel reality where those goals are already achieved. Your consciousness is about to tunnel through barriers that seemed permanent, landing you in a version of reality where limitation was never part of the equation. In quantum field theory, there is a phenomenon that most people never hear about, yet it is happening all around us every single moment. Virtual particles. These mysterious entities pop into existence for the briefest instant, then vanish before any instrument can directly detect them. They exist for such infinitesimally short periods that they seem like quantum ghosts, yet their effects are measurable. They influence other particles, create forces, and shape the very fabric of reality. What if I told you that your desires work in exactly the same way? Right now, as you are listening to this, your manifestations exist as what I call virtual manifestations, quantum possibilities that are constantly flickering in and out of your reality field. They are not absent from your life. They are existing in brief, unstable bursts that most people never learn to recognize. Think about the last time something seemingly impossible happened to you. Maybe it was finding exactly the right book at exactly the moment you needed it, not because you were looking for it, but because it literally fell off a shelf in front of you. Or that conversation with a stranger in a coffee shop that completely changed your perspective on a problem you had been wrestling with for months. These were not coincidences. They were virtual manifestations, briefly stabilizing into your physical reality. Here is what is actually happening. Your consciousness creates quantum fields of possibility around your desires. These possibilities exist in what physicists call superposition. They are simultaneously real and not real until something causes them to collapse into a definite form. But unlike the instant collapse we see in laboratory experiments, your life manifestations go through a process of gradual stabilization. I have observed this pattern countless times. A woman I know spent 2 years trying to manifest her ideal business opportunity. For months, nothing seemed to happen. Then she started noticing what she called weird coincidences. Meeting people who mentioned exactly the industry she wanted to enter, receiving random emails about opportunities that were not quite right but were surprisingly close, even having dreams about specific business scenarios that felt incredibly real. What she was experiencing were not signs that her manifestation was coming. They were her manifestation existing as virtual possibilities that were spending increasingly longer periods in her reality field before dissolving back into potential. The stabilization process works like this. Initially, your virtual manifestations might exist for microseconds, too brief for your conscious mind to register. You might feel a sudden surge of unexplained optimism or catch yourself humming for no apparent reason. These are the quantum signatures of your desires briefly materializing in your field. As the manifestation gains coherence, these virtual appearances last longer. You start noticing synchronicities. Opportunities appear that seem too good to be true. And here is the crucial part. They often are too good to be true in that moment because they are still in a virtual state. They are testing the waters of your reality, seeing if the conditions are stable enough for full materialization. This is why so many people experience what feels like almost getting what they want repeatedly. They are actually witnessing their virtual manifestation in the process of stabilization. Each, almost, is the universe building the quantum coherence necessary for a permanent physical manifestation. But here is where most people sabotage the entire process. They start looking for evidence. In quantum mechanics, observation causes what is called decoherence, the collapse of quantum possibilities into limited, definite outcomes. When you constantly check to see if your manifestation is working, you are forcing your virtual manifestation to collapse prematurely into whatever limited evidence currently exists in your physical reality. It is like trying to photograph a soap bubble. The very act of getting close enough to capture it often causes it to pop. Your virtual manifestations need what I call coherence protection. They need to exist in the quantum field of your consciousness without being subjected to the decoherence effects of external validation or evidence gathering. This does not mean ignoring reality. It means understanding that your virtual manifestation is building reality from the quantum level up. I learned this the hard way when I was manifesting a major life change. Every day, I would scan my environment, looking for signs that it was working. Every day, I found evidence that nothing was happening. What I did not understand then was that my constant observation was preventing the very thing I wanted from maintaining the quantum coherence necessary to stabilize. The breakthrough came when I stopped checking, not from giving up, but from understanding that my manifestation was already happening in a virtual state. My job was not to make it happen, it was to protect it from premature collapse while it built the quantum momentum necessary for physical stabilization. This is why the final phase before a breakthrough often feels like what mystics call the dark night of the soul. It is not the universe testing your faith. It is your manifestation existing in what physicists call the quantum vacuum state, the most potent creative condition possible. The quantum vacuum is not empty space. It is space filled with virtual particles and unlimited potential. When your manifestation enters this state, it often feels like nothing is happening because there is no external evidence to observe. But quantum mechanically, this is when everything is happening. Your virtual manifestation is gathering coherence, building the quantum infrastructure necessary to support a permanent physical reality. It is like a building being constructed. There is a phase where all the work is happening in the foundation, invisible from street level, but absolutely essential for everything that follows. The apparent stillness you might be experiencing right now is not evidence that your manifestation is not working. You are existing in the quantum vacuum state of your own creative process. Virtual particles of your desire are constantly appearing and disappearing around you, each appearance lasting a little longer, building a little more coherence, preparing for the moment when the quantum tunneling effect we discussed earlier allows your entire manifestation to suddenly appear in a stable, physical form. The key is recognizing that you are not waiting for something to begin. You are protecting something that is already happening from premature collapse. Your virtual manifestations are real. They are building momentum in the quantum field of your life right now. The synchronicities, the unexplained moments of joy, the sudden clarity about next steps. These are not previews of your manifestation. They are your manifestation, gradually stabilizing into a permanent reality. Right now, as you are processing these words, your brain is literally rewiring itself. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, but physically restructuring its neural architecture in real time. Every moment of recognition you have experienced while watching this, every "I knew that somehow" feeling, every insight that made your consciousness expand slightly. These are not just thoughts passing through your mind. They are new neural pathways forming permanently in your brain tissue. The quantum tunneling breakthroughs we discussed, those virtual manifestations crystallizing into your reality. Your nervous system is building the biological infrastructure to navigate these expanded states as naturally as you currently navigate consensus reality. Think about learning to drive a car. Initially, every action required conscious effort. Now, you navigate traffic while having conversations, your brain having automated complex processes through repeated neural firing patterns. The same neuroplasticity is occurring right now, but instead of learning traffic rules, you are downloading new software that knows how to recognize abundance as a natural law, interpret synchronicities as normal universal communication, and operate within quantum realities. This integration process does not stop when this video ends. For the next 72 hours, your brain will continue consolidating these new patterns, especially during your sleep cycles. Each REM phase will strengthen the neural connections forming right now, literally hardwiring expanded awareness into your default operating system. You might notice your dreams becoming more vivid, containing symbolic information that feels significant upon waking. You might find yourself spontaneously understanding concepts that previously seemed abstract. This is not imagination. It is your consciousness integrating new operational frequencies. The timing of your exposure to this transmission is not coincidental. Your consciousness had to reach specific developmental thresholds before it could safely receive this information without overwhelming your system, like a computer requiring certain processing power before running advanced software. Your awareness needed sufficient expansion to handle these frequencies without causing psychological disruption. The recognition you are experiencing is not you learning something new. It is you remembering frequencies your consciousness once operated within, but forgot during physical incarnation. These frequencies represent your natural birthright, your original blueprint. Before learning to limit yourself to consensus reality's narrow bandwidth, your consciousness navigated multiple dimensional layers simultaneously. Physical incarnation required focusing primarily on third-dimensional experience, but that focusing created a forgetting. What you are experiencing now is remembrance, your consciousness recalibrating to frequencies it originally knew. Understanding this neurological transformation gives you tremendous power to consciously support the integration process. Your thoughts and emotions operate at measurable frequencies. Gratitude resonates at 540 Hz, love at 528 Hz, joy at 540 Hz. These are not abstract concepts. They are actual vibrational frequencies your nervous system can learn to maintain consistently. Compare this to fear at 100 Hz, doubt at 125 Hz, or anger at 150 Hz. Your brain is learning to distinguish between these frequency states and choose consciously which ones to amplify. This creates what physicists call constructive interference. When you align your personal frequency with your desired reality's frequency, the waves amplify each other rather than canceling out. It is like tuning forks. Strike one tune to 528 Hz near another 528 Hz fork, and the second begins resonating automatically. Your consciousness works similarly. Maintain the love frequency consistently, and your reality begins resonating with experiences that match that frequency. The key is becoming conscious of what frequency you are broadcasting moment to moment. Most people operate on autopilot, unconsciously cycling through whatever emotional states their environment triggers. But you are developing the ability to recognize your current broadcast frequency and make intentional choices about which energies to amplify. This requires mindfulness, not the passive meditation often taught, but an active, conscious awareness of your internal state combined with deliberate frequency selection. Expect resistance to show up as your nervous system integrates these new patterns. Suddenly, you might find yourself busier than usual with meaningless tasks. Relationships might become more draining as people unconsciously attempt to pull you back into familiar frequency ranges. Circumstances might arise that test your faith in this expanded understanding. This is not the universe conspiring against you. It is old reality's final attempt to maintain patterns that no longer serve your evolution. The crucial understanding is that you are not fighting this resistance or trying to eliminate it. Fighting creates more of what you are fighting against through the attention and energy you are feeding it. Instead, you acknowledge the resistance like clouds passing through the sky while remaining anchored in your chosen frequency. Clouds do not damage the sky, and resistance cannot damage your expanded awareness unless you identify with it rather than observing it. Your nervous system is literally becoming more sensitive to subtle energies, quantum fluctuations, and dimensional information. What once felt like intuition or gut feelings will become clearer communication from your expanded awareness. You will begin noticing the energy signatures of people, places, and situations before your rational mind processes the information. This is not developing psychic abilities. It is your nervous system remembering capacities that physical incarnation temporarily suppressed. The neural pathways forming right now are permanent. Unlike temporary states achieved through substances or extreme practices, this transformation is sustainable because it is based on your consciousness remembering its natural operating frequencies. Your brain is building the biological foundation for living in an expanded reality while maintaining full function in consensus reality. Pay attention to your dreams over the next week. They will contain integration codes your conscious mind needs to fully anchor these new neural patterns. Write them down immediately upon waking, before analytical thinking dismisses their significance. Your subconscious is processing quantum information during your sleep states, translating it into a symbolic language your conscious mind can understand and integrate. This is your nervous system's revolution, the biological foundation for the new reality you are stepping into. As your nervous system rewires itself to accommodate these expanded frequencies, something profound is happening that extends far beyond your personal transformation. You are not just changing your own reality, you are contributing to a fundamental shift in human consciousness itself, participating in what scientists call morphic fields. Every time you choose receiving energy over wanting energy, you're not making this choice in isolation. You are adding your frequency to an invisible template that makes it easier for the next person to make the same choice. This is morphic resonance in action, the phenomenon where patterns of behavior and consciousness become increasingly accessible as more people embody them. Think about how certain discoveries happen simultaneously across the globe. Darwin and Wallace developing the theory of evolution at the same time. Leibniz and Newton both discovering calculus independently. The telephone being invented by multiple people within months of each other. This is not a coincidence. It is morphic fields reaching a critical mass, making previously difficult insights suddenly available to multiple minds. The same principle applies to consciousness breakthroughs. When you shift from scarcity to abundance thinking, from resistance to flow, from wanting to receiving, you are not just transforming your personal experience. You are strengthening the morphic field that contains this pattern, making it easier for others to access the same state. Consider how cultural shifts spread without mass communication. How did the Renaissance spread across Europe? How do fashion trends emerge simultaneously on different continents? How did the 1960s consciousness revolution happen globally without internet coordination? Morphic fields carry these patterns through what appears to be empty space. but is actually the quantum substrate connecting all consciousness. Your breakthrough becomes a beacon, a possibility template broadcasting across the collective unconscious. When you successfully shift from forcing outcomes to allowing them, someone in Tokyo might suddenly find themselves naturally flowing with life instead of fighting it. When you master the art of receiving, a person in Sao Paulo might unexpectedly discover opportunities appearing effortlessly in their experience. This is why timing matters so critically right now. Humanity is undergoing a species-wide evolution from unconscious creation to conscious collaboration with quantum fields. We are learning to co-create with universal intelligence, rather than operating from isolated ego minds, trying to manipulate external circumstances. Ancient prophecies from multiple traditions speak of this transition. The Hopi describe the great purification leading to the fifth world. Hindu scriptures detail the shift from the Kali Yuga to the Satya Yuga. The Mayan calendar pointed to 2012 not as an ending, but as the beginning of a new cycle of consciousness. Modern scientists like Dr. Bruce Lipton and Dr. Joe Dispenza are documenting the same transition through the lens of epigenetics and neuroplasticity. You are among the early adopters, the consciousness pioneers, making these expanded states increasingly accessible to the collective. Every moment you choose expansion over contraction, you are literally rewiring not just your own neural pathways, but contributing to the morphic field that influences human neural development globally. This carries profound responsibility. Your energy choices affect not just your personal reality, but the collective field of human potential. When you operate from fear, you strengthen the morphic patterns of separation and scarcity that keep humanity trapped in unconscious creation cycles. When you embody receiving energy, you reinforce the templates of unity and abundance that support conscious evolution. The research of Dr. Rupert Sheldrake demonstrates how learned behaviors in one population of animals suddenly become easier for the same species to learn elsewhere, even without contact. Rats learning mazes in London somehow make it easier for rats in New York to learn identical mazes faster. The same principle applies to human consciousness development. As more people master the shift from wanting to receiving, this mastery becomes increasingly accessible to others. The morphic field strengthens, creating what researchers call the 100th monkey effect, the point where a new behavior or awareness suddenly becomes available to an entire population. We are approaching this tipping point with conscious creation. The old paradigm of struggling and forcing is becoming energetically obsolete, as more individuals demonstrate the effectiveness of aligned receiving. Your personal transformation is accelerating this collective shift. Consider the practical implications. As you embody receiving energy in your career, you make it easier for others to discover work that aligns with their natural gifts. As you demonstrate healthy relationships based on mutual enhancement rather than need fulfillment, you strengthen the morphic template for conscious partnership. As you show that abundance flows through appreciation rather than acquisition, you make this understanding more accessible to the collective. Consciousness. The quantum field responds to coherent intention backed by aligned action. When enough individuals operate from this understanding, we reach a critical mass for a species-wide transformation. The old systems based on competition and scarcity begin dissolving naturally, replaced by cooperation and conscious co-creation. Your role as a morphic field contributor means understanding that every choice matters beyond your personal experience. Each time you respond to a challenge with curiosity rather than reactivity, you are modeling possibility for the collective. Each time you trust the intelligence of synchronicity rather than forcing predetermined outcomes, you are demonstrating a more sophisticated relationship with reality. The implications extend to global challenges: climate change, economic inequality, political polarization. These reflect humanity's unconscious creation patterns. As the morphic field shifts toward conscious collaboration with natural intelligence, solutions emerge that seemed impossible from the old paradigm. The key is consistency in your frequency choices, not perfection, but a persistent alignment with receiving energy regardless of external circumstances. This steady coherence strengthens the morphic template you're contributing to, making expanded consciousness increasingly accessible to others who are ready for this evolution. Your breakthrough is not just a personal victory. It is a conscious participation in humanity's next developmental stage, where individual awakening serves collective transformation and collective evolution supports individual fulfillment in an endless cycle of conscious creation. As we reach this final transmission, you are standing at the threshold of something extraordinary. Your nervous system has been rewiring itself throughout this journey, creating new neural pathways that can perceive multiple dimensional frequencies. Your role in the collective awakening has expanded your awareness beyond personal manifestation to universal co-creation. Now comes the ultimate integration, embodying frequency mastery as your natural state of being. Everything we have explored converges into this singular truth. You are a conscious frequency broadcaster, and your entire reality responds to the signal you are transmitting. But here is what most people miss. You do not need to learn how to broadcast. You have been doing it your entire life. What you are learning now is conscious control over your transmission frequency. Think of your consciousness like a radio station. Right now, you might be broadcasting on 98.5 FM, the frequency of limitation, scarcity, and struggle. Your desired reality exists on 1.7 FM, the frequency of abundance, flow, and fulfillment. Same broadcasting equipment, different frequency setting. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is not distance, it is a frequency difference. This understanding transforms everything about how you approach change. You are not trying to force your way into a new reality. You are tuning into a frequency that already exists, where your desires have been waiting for you with equal intensity. The universe has not been withholding your dreams. It has been orchestrating synchronicity symphonies, waiting for you to match the frequency where perfect timing can deliver everything at once. The integration phase requires you to embody the receiving frequency as your natural state rather than a temporary practice. This means moving through your day as someone who expects miracles, who recognizes abundance everywhere, who operates from knowing rather than hoping. When you visualize your desires now, you are not trying to create something new. You are remembering something that already exists in another frequency band. Your body becomes the most sophisticated frequency detector you possess. Inspired action feels completely different from forced action. When you are aligned with a universal flow, action feels effortless, energizing, almost like the action is taking itself through you. Your body feels light, expanded, and curious. Time seems to bend in your favor. Doors open before you knock. Forced action, born from impatience and fear, creates tension in your solar plexus, a tightness in your chest, an exhaustion that no amount of coffee can cure. You are swimming upstream against the current of universal timing, creating resistance where flow should exist. The harder you push, the further your desires seem to drift away. Here is the paradox that confuses most people. Complete surrender while taking inspired action. Surrender does not mean becoming passive. It means releasing your death grip on how and when your desires must manifest, while remaining actively receptive to the guidance that is constantly flowing toward you. You become a partner with the universe rather than someone trying to control it. Think of it like dancing with an expert partner. You do not go limp and expect to be dragged around the dance floor, but you also do not try to lead every step and ignore your partner's movements. You stay present, responsive, allowing the dance to emerge through both of you simultaneously. As your frequency stabilizes in this new bandwidth, you will experience something fascinating. Living in a dual existence. Part of you continues navigating your current reality with its apparent limitations, paying bills, having conversations, moving through familiar routines. But increasingly, another part of you experiences your desired reality with crystal clarity. You can feel the emotions, see the details, and inhabit the expanded identity so completely that it becomes more real than your current circumstances. This is not losing touch with reality. It is becoming conscious of multiple dimensional frequencies simultaneously. Most people live unconsciously aware of only one frequency band, thinking that is all that exists. You are developing the ability to perceive the decode, full spectrum of possibility frequencies available to you. The key is attention placement. Your attention is life force itself. Whatever receives your attention receives your energy and grows stronger in your experience. Whatever loses your attention gradually fades from your reality. When you give more attention to your expanded reality frequency than to your limited reality frequency, you literally shift the balance of what manifests in your physical experience. This requires a moment-by-moment conscious choice. In any given situation, you can ask yourself, which frequency am I broadcasting right now? Am I transmitting from limitation or expansion, from fear or love, from scarcity or abundance? Then, consciously adjust your transmission. The morphic fields we discussed earlier amplify this process exponentially. As you stabilize in higher frequencies, you are not just changing your personal reality, you are strengthening those frequency patterns for everyone. You become a lighthouse, broadcasting expanded possibilities that others can tune into and follow. Your quantum entanglement with your desires means that as you shift your frequency, they shift too, moving closer to manifestation in your physical reality. The virtual realities you have been experiencing in meditation and visualization begin stabilizing into a tangible form. What seemed like imagination reveals itself as interdimensional communication. Here is the profound truth that changes everything. You are not separate from what you desire. You never have been. The appearance of separation is simply a frequency difference, and frequency can be changed through conscious choice in any moment. Your desires exist within your consciousness, not outside it. When you align with their frequency, the gap collapses instantly. The biological rewiring we explored earlier has prepared your nervous system to handle higher frequencies of reality. Your role in collective awakening has expanded your understanding beyond personal gain to universal service. Now, you possess the frequency mastery to consciously navigate between dimensions of possibility. What we have covered in this transmission represents just the beginning of what becomes possible when you understand consciousness as frequency and reality as responsive to your broadcast signal. You possess the power to change your frequency instantly through conscious choice, shifting from any limitation into any expansion you can conceive. If this transmission has resonated with your deepest knowing, if you feel the truth of frequency mastery activating within your consciousness, demonstrate your quantum resonance by commenting, "I understood it," below.